I've been hired by an absentee boat owner to inspect the exhaust system that he just hired and had installed in his boat. He asked me to make sure it's okay before he writes a final check upon completion. So if you haven't noticed already, that hose to the left, that 1.5 inch hose, just seems to be hanging out nowhere, and I agree, that's true. Look down here at these hose clamps. See how they can rip you to shreds? And then there's two different type of hose clamps right there. And here's the thing that bothers me the most. Look at this. Look at that. Isn't that ridiculous? Now coming up here to the top, I'm standing up, and if I were to go over to the outboard side, this thing will actually poke my eye out. These guys were lazy. They should have cut that off shorter all the way down to that square piece. And then looking up here, you can see this hose, which is a water injection hose. It's stiff and it's short. See, you should have a little bit of a radius curve in there instead of being stretched short like that. And then looking at the hose clamps over here, see, those are one type of hose clamps on this side, and those hose clamps are going to rub into that insulation, which is not good. Let's turn around and look at the starboard side over here. Swinging around, and pardon the boat, it's having major surgery, so we're almost completed with that. But again, look at this. This is ridiculous. This is simple. It's cheap. It's dangerous. I don't like it. Look at these hose clamps. So if they use the cheap hose clamps on the port side, they use the expensive hose clamps on the starboard side. So if somebody were to argue these are better hose clamps, why didn't they put the better hose clamps on both sides? We don't know. We're in discussions. And then looking here, this piece, again, that's short. It's a brittle hose. And then just look how ugly this is. This should have been replaced. Even if the exhaust guy, if it were not in his job description to replace it, he should have tagged that as being dangerous, necessary to be replaced, and maybe not even hooked it up. Don't know. The boat's in the boatyard, so we cannot run the engines yet. And now look over here. More hose clamps. Super duper expensive hose clamps right here. And look at these big guys. You think they'll rip a gash in your arm or your leg when you're walking over there, checking the oil or changing the fuel filter on the generator? You see the generator over there, which is brand new. That was approved. But again, let's look at this hose right here. This is silly, ridiculous. Silly, 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 silly. This is just not professional. It's not right. And I'm challenging all that. And I'm asking the owner not to pay for the installation until the exhaust guys come back and correct it. In closing, look down here. You can see the bellows, how all that hot exhaust gas can come up. That exhaust gas is over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's insulated. This is an insulated blanket, but the blanket's not tight enough to keep all those temperature, all that high temperature trapped in there. And the same thing over here on this side. So I think they need to be tightened up some more. Those are bellows, so that when the engine torques back and forth from forward and reverse, that's not a hard pipe, it's a flexible pipe going into this hard pipe right here. So if you've got a boat that's got a lot of work being done on it, before you write the check, ask a professional captain to come inspect it before you write the check, because once the check's written, it's hard to get them back for warranty work. If you have more questions, anything about boats, diesel engines, boatyard work, cruising, navigating, you know who to call. To look us up on the internet, ask Captain Chris.